Hello, I am Dr. Franklin Nyamsi, teacher of philosophy for 3 decades now. I have been teaching philosophy in Cameroon, Ivory Coast in West Africa, and finally France. I would like to inform all the English-speaking people through the world about what is going on today in France concerning the freedom of speech of teachers of public education like I am. These last years, under Mr. Emmanuel Macron's regime, the freedom of speech of many people has been attacked and destroyed just because the government want to control mentally the entire society. Since the year 2021, I am persecuted by government of France just because I have been publishing for many decades now many books against the French politics in Africa. The French policy in Africa, which is under neo-colonialist rule, controlling Africa through military troops, controlling Africa through a fake neo-colonial currency called franc CFA, controlling Africa by helping the worst dictators to keep the oath against the people's sovereignty, controlling Africa by fighting against the right of all Africans to root their institution in their multi-millennial tradition. I have written quite 23 books during these 3 last decades to denounce that mafia between corrupted African political elites and corrupted French political elites. But for the first time in France, I am persecuted by Mr. Macron's regime, not because I have been talking about my political engagement, my political fight during the teaching of philosophy in my classes of grammar school and university. No, never. I have been talking about my political commitment in front of my students in all grammar schools or universities I have been teaching in France. My political struggle is a matter of freedom of speech at my home, here on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter channel. I have never used a class of philosophy in grammar school or university to defend my political ideas like a citizen or an African intellectual involved for the emancipation of the African continent against despotism, neocolonialism, and imperialism. But now in France, I have been excluded by President Macron's government for 3 months without any salary, just because I am continuing to do what I have been doing for many years now. Under President Chirac, under President Nicolas Sarkozy, under President François Hollande, I have never been persecuted for my ideas. Like an intellectual, my private expression has never been a problem. And this is the first time, after 23 years living in France, for me to be harassed by a government about my personal opinion, my personal analysis about what is going on between France and Africa. So please, I would like you to help me by sharing as largely as possible this alert against the destruction of the freedom of speech in France. I introduced in court a complaint. I am fighting through the justice means to make my right be recognized. But we need everybody through the world to know that Mr. Macron's regime is becoming a true dictatorship against French people, and especially African French people who are involved in African emancipation, like myself. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for helping. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for denouncing with us and for defending our sacred freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom as a citizen of this world. I believe that learning philosophy, teaching philosophy, being a philosopher like myself is impossible without having the right to think and to speak freely when we are out of our professional responsibility. And I have the intention to pursue my free expression, my free talk. I have the rigorous duty to keep my mind free and to pursue my involvement for African emancipation. That is why I publish this alert. Thank you for sharing.